Hello and welcome to our special broadcast from the annual convention of the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers. The big message from India's largest car maker, Maruti Suzuki, was that it is the best time for people to close their deals on the cars they are looking to buy because of the high discounting and festive offers right now. They also told us they're optimistic about sales in the festive season. They're seeing an uptick in demand for hybrid cars, and they expect 26% of sales in their portfolio to come from hybrids by 2030, 15% from electric, and the rest from CNG and the ICE portfolio. Let's listen in to Partho Banerjee from Maruti Suzuki.
Just to give a perspective on the festival season, this year the Onam is in the month of September, starts on 15th of September. Last year it was in the August end actually. But if I try to compare the numbers of last year August versus this year numbers for Maruti, last month in Kerala we saw a growth in the booking to the tune of 11%, so which is a very positive sign for us. And just to give a perspective that on this Saturday we had that Ganesh Chaturthi, so the markets where generally this festival is very popular, there we saw a 10% growth in the deliveries. So if you ask me, Parikshit, I feel that we are seeing the green shoots coming, and we are hopeful and very optimistic that the festival seasons we are going to see a good sales.
So we have seen this debate across the world on hybrids versus EVs. What has been the offtake of the hybrid segment in your portfolio?
So there is nothing like that EV versus this, so which debate is going on. For each technology, there is a set of customers who are going for it. Now, to be very honest, if you ask me strong hybrid, one of the biggest thing is this, the benefit is this, it's a combination of both. And it gives you very good mileage, and at the same time you don't have the anxiety of the range, which is a bigger issue today. But we are also coming in the EV. In the this Bharat Mobility Show 2025, we are going to showcase our first EV vehicle. So it is nothing like that Maruti is not into the EV. But at the same time, you need to understand that a set of customers, we should give that option to the customer. Why we should decide that customer should only go for that. Now, coming to the hybrid, yes, the share of business of hybrid is going up as compared to the EV. You all know that hybrids are now, customers are preferring it. And I think thanks to some of the state governments for coming up and giving that option to the customer, that let the customer decide which technology they would like to prefer to.
Right. What would be your percentage of hybrid sales?
Ours is around 16%.
16%
of the models in which we are offering the hybrid.
Okay. So 16% of particular product lines.
Products, yeah.
And overall sales?
No, because we are presently offering the strong hybrid only in two models. That is the Grand Vitara and the Invicto. So of that total sales, it is 16%.
All right. And how much do you expect the hybrid sales to go up in the next, say, 5 years? The reason why I'm asking is that globally we've seen a demand for hybrids wherever subsidies have been stopped for electric vehicles. BYD today has raised its annual forecast because of a surge in hybrid vehicles as well. How does that make you optimistic, and what kind of a portfolio percentage wise would we see between, say, ICE, CNG and hybrid by 2030 and EV?
You asked me first about the CNG. Today, every third vehicle which we are selling from the Maruti portfolio happens to be a CNG vehicle. Last month, close to 50,000 vehicles were CNG vehicles from our product portfolio. That is also one way to contribute in terms of reducing the carbon footprint actually. Now coming to the forecast, I can give you a forecast for 2030. We feel hybrids will be around 25%.
Of the passenger car industry or Maruti?
Passenger car industry. I'm giving an industry outlook. Electric vehicle around 15 to 17%, which we feel. That's the percentage we feel. So our take is a strong hybrid will be around 25%.
The debate on EVs versus hybrids continued at the SIAM convention as well. Toyota India told us that they are very optimistic about the long-term demand for hybrids. In their portfolio, they're seeing a greater demand and sales of hybrid cars than pure internal combustion vehicles. They also urge the government to think about not subsidies, but rewarding the customer who is buying hybrid vehicles. Let's listen in.
The festival season itself is coming with a lot of expectation for the auto industry. We have seen some amount of build-up across the industry itself. And in some sense, we are now returning back to the 2019 era, where such stock build-up was a fairly common thing, and it was the festival season which would then kind of take out these stocks. So I think we are seeing a return back to that condition. Specifically on the industry and the festival season itself, so far from what we are seeing, the demand has been pretty robust. But specifically commenting about Toyota, we follow the pull system. We do not push inventory to our dealers. We look at the customer order intake data flow very, very carefully from the ground, from the dealer, and build it bottoms up. And that in turn plans our inventory at our vendors and at our dealer partners. So in that sense, that global practice of having a pull-based inventory system has helped us to keep our stock levels fairly moderate. We are one of the few OEMs which have a waiting period even in this market. So in that sense, we have been able to manage our inventory lines pretty fairly.
If I were to ask you about hybrid sales in your portfolio, what is the current offtake of hybrid sales for Toyota versus pure ICE?
While I can't put specific numbers on the table, I would definitely say that a significant portion of our hybrid products continue to have a big margin or big portion in our overall sales. This is of course about those vehicles where we have a hybrid powertrain. So it's a significant portion.
Would you be able to say whether it's a higher demand for hybrids?
It's a higher demand for hybrids.
So you're saying in your portfolio, where there are hybrids options available, there is a higher demand of...
The customer is very acutely and consciously giving his love and mandate for the strong hybrids. Apart from, of course, the same customer also giving a mandate for the battery electrified vehicles as they are available. So yes, we see a strong demand for hybrids.
Okay. How's been the collaboration with Maruti, and how do you see this collaboration increasing? If you could give us a sense of what the two companies can do together in the next few years.
Going forward, I think both the companies will continue to work very closely, looking at the customer's expectation and offer technologies which will be accretive to the national goal and of course, help us to keep the carbon footprints very low. We'll also work closely on the localization and the development of the local ecosystem, which we believe is an integral piece when you are doing this journey on sustainability.
But not all car makers believe hybrids is the way to go. Some, like Mahindra and Mahindra, are looking at the EV versus hybrid debate with a lot of concern. In fact, Vijay Nakra, the president of the automotive division at Mahindra Group, told us that the government must stay the course on electric vehicles and not lose focus by incentivizing hybrids as well. Why does he feel that? Let's listen in to Vijay Nakra about his outlook on the automobile industry and also his take on the debate on EV versus hybrid.
We are pretty bullish about the upcoming festive season. I think there are a number of indicators that point towards that. I think the election is behind us, the budget is behind us. We have the indications of a great monsoon. We've had good rains. The long-term period average of monsoon is up significantly compared to last year. The water levels in the reservoirs are 72% plus. 90% of the sowing land has been tilled with the kharif crop. The price of crop or the grain coming to the mandis is better than last year. So all of this are clearly indicating to us that, also basis talking to many of our channel partners as we get ready for the festive season, the mood is pretty buoyant and we believe the festive season will be good for us.
Mahindra and the VW Group, 2 years back when the two companies came together for an agreement on components, on electric vehicle components, the term sheet said a future collaboration on electric vehicles is possible. We now hear that a JV is imminent to manufacture electric vehicles. Could you give us a sense of where the talks are and the plans?
I wouldn't be in a position to comment on that, but as of now, the original term sheet that we had, which was about sourcing components from VW for our indigenously developed in-glow platform for our EVs, that's where we are in terms of the relationship.
Any plans to launch hybrids, considering there is a big demand for hybrids, not just in India, globally also we see some change in the preference of powertrains?
We will be ready with hybrids and we will bring it out in due course. which is something that we've already mentioned earlier in many of the media interactions. But I think it's important for me to just set a little bit of context on that topic, which is, India lost out on the opportunity of being a make in India for the world in the ICE era because we were not a global industry of scale. When you look at where we are sitting in 2023-24, we are the third largest automobile country in the world. This is our time to become a formidable global player for domestic and for exports. And given that we are at that cusp of the change in technology, we believe India would be ready to become one of the largest players in the EV space globally for domestic and exports put together. We shouldn't lose out on that opportunity, and I think to make that happen, it's imperative that all the focus and consistency of policy needs to be in the direction to get EV on the global stage, because it's not just about getting us to the global stage. A, it brings us there. B, it solves the import bill of oil, the concern that we have. We spend close to $130 billion per year on that. And third, our sign up on COP26, which is to get to net zero by 2070. So if we move on the direction of EV, and when we get to 30% penetration, we will be able to reduce the CO2 intensity footprint by 45%. And we will be able to reduce the oil import bill by over 1 lakh crores in one per year. So I think it's very, very important to do that. As far as hybrids is concerned, it is a derived technology on internal combustion engines. Yes, it has a role to play, but I think it's a technology that is globally used by players to manage CAFE norms. So it clearly has a role to play. It is a technology which is a derivative coming from ICE, should be used for the short term to manage CAFE, but in the longer term we need EVs, and for that we need consistency so that we can get from today's 2% penetration to 20-30% penetration.
On that note, we take a short break, but don't go anywhere. When we return, we get you conversations from the SIAM convention with Tata Motors, Ashok Leyland and Mercedes-Benz. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching our broadcast from the annual convention of the Society of Indian Automobile Manufacturers. At the convention, we caught up with India's two leading commercial vehicle makers, Tata Motors and Ashok Leyland. Girish Wagh of Tata Motors told us that he's expecting flattish growth in the year FY25. He expects growth to now pick up with the festive season. He urged the industry and the government to think about including more categories such as light, medium and heavy commercial vehicle, electric trucks in the FAME scheme, and also electric private buses. Ashok Leyland, on the other hand, urged the government and the industry representatives to have a greater debate on the availability and purity of green hydrogen so we can make a transition to hydrogen as a fuel as well. Let's listen in.
Right, so I think at the beginning of the year, we had given an outlook of a muted Q1 because of the elections, general elections. But actually Q1 turned out to be very positive, and it grew by around 2% over the Q1 of last year. Post that, in July and August, one has seen a decline happening in volumes in year-on-year terms. And if you look at August YTD, I think the industry has seen a decline of around 4%. That's where we are. If you see some of the other indicators, I think the average fleet utilization has gone down in these 2 months. Diesel consumption, which is a good indicator, has also gone down. But I think this appears to be more due to the rainy season and more so the heavy rains this time. So the mining sector, road development, I think these are the sectors which were going slow. And we expect the things to come back from this month. I'm already seeing some green shoots in terms of number of kilometers run by trucks on a daily basis. I think last year, H2 was a bit muted as compared to that of H1. I think we expect this year to be reverse, and we hope that the market should start picking up with the festive season from this month. And at an overall level, I think we should probably end at a flat kind of growth.
on electrification of the portfolio, what's the current offtake of EVs in your total sales at the moment, and how much do you expect this to increase by 2030?
So the current offtake still remains in lower single digits, right? But I think the good thing is we have now more than 5,000 ACE electric and around 3,000 electric buses running on the roads. The buses have covered more than 200 million kilometers cumulative. ACE has covered more than 43 million kilometers cumulative. So we have a very good experience under the belt. We've also seeded some of the electric heavy commercial vehicles in specific applications to understand how they are performing. So I think in variety of applications we have seeded our electric vehicles. I think we are also looking at clarity on the FAME incentive, which all of us are aware about. I think FAME 2 ended a few months back before the general elections. I think we are now looking at FAME 3 being rolled out, and we are also expecting as a commercial vehicle industry that the FAME 3 also includes N2 and N3 trucks, because it was limited to N1 category, which is up to 3.5 tons. We want N2 and N3, which is light, medium, heavy, to be included. We also want private buses to be included. And since for long distance haulage, I think hydrogen internal combustion engine is a good technology. Maybe we are also requesting the government to include this in the FAME incentive.
Right. Did the disruption in FAME, which stopped in March, affected sales right now of your electric portfolio, because the EMPS scheme does not cover anything but 2 and 3 wheelers? And is somehow the lack of clarity, lack of timelines on FAME 3 impacting manufacturing and future plans right now?
So fortunately for us, the buses which we are supplying as a part of the CSL tender are anyway covered under FAME. So that part of our business has not been impacted. Private buses are not yet as a part of FAME, which is another segment that we are pursuing. But we are requesting the government to include private buses also in FAME 3. I think there has been some impact on the small commercial vehicle, where the FAME incentive was almost equivalent to 15 to 20% of the price to the customer. But here I think we have also come up with a new offering which does give better total cost of ownership to the customer. But if you ask me, we are certainly looking forward to the government coming up with the FAME 3 scheme and also include some of these segments which are not covered today.
When it comes to the FAME scheme, have you faced any kind of issues with FAME 2, and has there been any recommendation from you to the government either to widen the scope or maybe make some policy tweaks for the CV industry specifically?
Nothing of any significant nature from the CV industry point of view. Of course, the buses, the city buses and the LCVs were already part of FAME 2. We would like that to continue, because I think the industry needs support for next few more years in these two segments. In FAME 2, we did not have the heavy-duty trucks included last time, and therefore we are hoping that the government would also bring in heavy-duty trucks under the FAME.
In terms of long-term policy clarity on alternate fuels, hydrogen is a technology that Ashok Leyland has been working on closely. What kind of clarity and long-term policy stability are you expecting from the government?
See, on the hydrogen, not so much from the technology point of view. I think from the technology point of view, I wouldn't say that the technology is mature right now. But I think with consistent effort from us and other industry players, I think we can have a very mature technology in the next few years. So that is not the area of concern. I think there needs to be a little bit more discussion with the government and within the industry associations about the availability of hydrogen. Also, I would say that, we normally boast ourselves by saying that we have the largest fleet of hydrogen ICE trucks in the world, although that number is very small. But on the technology side, I would say that, we can get our hands around the technology very quickly in the next few years. But yes, like I said, more discussion is required on the availability, the purity, the kind of investments that we need to make, and also as an ecosystem, how do we develop this whole hydrogen economy in the country.
But do you feel that lack of that discussion right now, lack of that debate is somehow impacting the rollout plans? And do you think that hydrogen as a technology, especially in heavy commercial vehicles, will be very important for 2030 onwards?
So I would say yes, beyond 2030 or 2030 perspectives, the discussion on hydrogen is very important, especially I would say for heavy duty vehicles like commercial vehicles. I do think that in the near term, electrification will play an important role. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that any lack of discussion on hydrogen is impacting us really, but I would say for hydrogen is a very prominent fuel that will appear, that will be very helpful for the country and the industry in long run. And therefore, I would like to see a little bit more discussion happening on hydrogen as well.
Leading luxury car maker Mercedes-Benz had a message for the Indian government. Please see what's happening globally whenever subsidies on electric vehicles are being stopped. And that's why it's very important to have a clear roadmap on the taxation on EVs. Let's listen in.
I think after a bit slow Q2, because we follow Jan-December calendar, so April to June as such was a bit slower, but it was planned because of elections, monsoons also being there in different parts of the country. August was great. I think if you look at the Vahan data as well for luxury, I think was still flat, but for Mercedes-Benz we grew even in August, and I'm sure even September, October should be the best ever months for us again. If I look at the full year projections, we are still confident of a double-digit growth to close this year, and it should be the best ever year in our history.
Would you say that there is also a lesson for India in what has happened in some of the developed markets with subsidies being pulled off and EV sales going down?
100%, Parikshit. I think the main lesson is be consistent. The on and off will actually distort demand. It will distort consumer acceptance. It will distort resale values, residual values, a lot of things. There needs to be a clear roadmap that till the time India doesn't achieve the 30%, 35, 40%, this kind of support will continue. This will get capex as well. Today, most OEMs and across the value chain, suppliers, OEMs don't invest because you don't know if there is a change in policy. Capex you commit, and then if you are not able to, if the policies change, or if there is an extension, or if the CAFE norms don't kick in, or if there is an extension, then what? Because consumers won't go by default, because they would like to have a cheaper technology, a proven technology, than trying to shift to a newer one. So I think a long-term commitment, this is what, in my view, the government should look at other markets and say, as India, let's take the leap of faith. I think that was very good inputs today morning. We heard from the ministers. They all were committed to this emission-free mobility. I think that's a big step.
My final question would be on the policy front. Any gaps or problems that you see right now which you hope are ironed out for a long-term view?
I think we have one side a very clear messaging of decarbonizing auto industry. On the other side, taxation is a complex topic in India because it's the GST is decided by states, not just by the central, and it's out of the budget purview. And there, as I said earlier, the pricing advantage is critical for EV success. Nobody is ready to pay premium for environment, unfortunately. So in that sense, this long-term view and commitment. Now we don't know who can commit to this. The GST Council or the or a particular ministry can at least give a year or maybe a target date that by 2033, next say 10 years or next 7-8 years, we will continue this taxation. That gives a lot of confidence for invest and also a lot of clarity to consumers as well, because then they know that the government is fully committed for this transition, and I am sure the entire auto industry will also rise up to the occasion and get in more and more products much faster.
That's all the time we had on this special broadcast. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.